Welcome, James. The MindBody Health Podcast Part 2. So dealing with fear.
Yes.
So James, look.
Nice one. The MindBody project. Now I'm going to get myself a cup soon.
and yeah.
Nice. You know, it's so funny. I was thinking about it today, and I was thinking, when I get one, I want a white T-shirt as well. You know, so great minds, huh? Great minds. Nice T-shirt. I like that.
Yeah, cheers, man. I said I was going to get one, so I thought I'd go and get it. So today we're talking about fear.
By the way, you can advertise for who did it for you. Like, who did that great T-shirt for you?
I don't want to say. I don't want to say that.
All right. That's fine. We'll rule that out.
I'll tell you afterwards. Yeah, I'll tell you afterwards. Dealing with fear. This is a problem for so many people. So many people dealing with fear. So we have some questions about that. So we're going to go on for about an hour, talking about how to deal with fear. So the first question I got here is, what causes fear? So do you want to start with this? So what causes fear? Because we've spent so much time having to deal with our own fears, doing all these techniques and showing each other, again, hours and hours and hours for years and years and years, going through dealing with our own fears. So let's just break down a little bit of what we would do what causes the fears in the first place. So what would you say?
Well, I've gone through a lot of techniques with regards to fear, but fundamentally, I find that, like any state of mind, that fear is context related, and it's your unconscious mind's way of telling you that there's something it wants you to pay attention to. I mean, they do talk about how fear is that fear is learned. It's a learned behavior. Except from the fear of falling and the fear of loud noises that we're born with, all other fears are things that we've learned, and so therefore that learning is context dependent. So if you're experiencing fear, you're experiencing it in a particular context. That means by that I mean you're thinking of a particular scenario or particular aspect of your life, and then you're getting the fear response as in relation to that. I mean, I had a client once who was completely scared of going to her doctor, and after a little bit of elicitation and finding out what was going on, she said because she thought that her doctor was going to tell her that she had cancer. So I was able to reframe that from it. So it was an imagined fear. It wasn't something that she was born with. She learned about cancer. She learned about all those things, and then learned that some of those symptoms might be that she might be experiencing those symptoms, and was scared to be told that, oh, you might have. So easily I was able to reframe that for her and let her understand that that's her unconscious mind's way of letting her know that in the context of your health, that it wants you to pay attention to certain things or change certain behaviors and do things differently. So,
fear, like you just said, false expectations appearing real. Just like, distortion, generalization, deletion in the mind. So I'm going to give you an example of how fear would develop. So I'm going to give people an example. So I used to be so scared of public speaking, just like we're doing now. How did that start? Sitting in school one day in a classroom, daydreaming away, listening to the teacher, They're like Snoopy, and you've got the teacher going rah 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 rah. That's all I was hearing, and I was focusing on how many goals I scored in the last break. And all of a sudden, as I was sitting there daydreaming, the teacher went, "Eldine, where are you gone, Jones? Picture's gone."
Oh, I'm right here.
Yeah. So the teacher goes, "Eldine," and whoa. First of all, what is it? Fear of loud noises. That's the first thing. So what they did was they anchored me straight away with that. And then they pulled me in front of the class and said, "What was we just talking about? What's the answer to the question?" And I was sitting there going, because I wasn't listening, I was daydreaming. So not only have they anchored me with fear straight away, because that's a natural fear, is a fear of loud noises, they've anchored that state and put me in front of a class. Yeah. And got me to then embarrassed me because I didn't know what was going on. Now, what the brain does is so that situation, you're looking at the ground going, "Oh my God, just say nothing. Don't look. It might go away." So after that situation, so your brain goes, your unconscious mind goes, "That's never happening again. That's never happening again. So I'm going to do everything I can to make you avoid that situation. So I'm going to bring on that state that you had there as soon as you go anywhere near presenting anything to anybody ever again." Yep. So that's how fear develops, because you're motivated by two forces. So you're going to behave by two forces: avoiding pain, which that situation was, like you said, context dependent, and towards pleasure. Yeah, so that's how you're motivated, by those two forces. So therefore, I was doing everything I could to avoid those situations, which is what people with fear do. They avoid a load of situations around. So that's essentially how fear develops. Like you said, it's a learned behavior. You learn it in society, apart from the two natural fears, which are fear of falling and a fear of loud noises. So all the other fears are developed by learned behavior to responses in your environment. So now we know how fears develop. Now we know how it is. How can I overcome fear? So how did I get from that position, so fearing, like going in front of people, to then being in a position where on an NLP trainers, where they not only put you in front of people, they make you do poems, they make you sing, they make you dance, they make you present as Graham Norton, they make you, and they all kind of things. They throw everything, have people shouting at you, angry, this, that, and the other, and you still have to show up and deal with all of that. So how is it I've gone from, I'm not going in front of anyone, to that? So how do we overcome fear? How do we overcome fear?
Yeah, well, one of the where I'd like to start is the acknowledgement that fear, even though it can be crippling in certain scenarios, is also it's a warning mechanism. Your body is protecting you, like you mentioned. It's keeping you away from pain. So it's good to realize this first. So now realize that, okay, yeah, it's keeping me away from pain, but it's also holding me back. So if it's holding you back but it's keeping you away from pain, becoming aware of your fear is the first spot. It's the first thing that I would say you do, and then being able to find out what it is that you want to do, because like I said, fear is a state. It's a state of mind. That obviously, like your story, is learned either by people installing this in you, or you just either which way. It's the environment and you interacting and learning this new state, and in that context. Now, for instance, like with my client, now in order to get her to stop feeling fear in that context. And now to be honest, I have quite a myriad of ways. The first way I usually use is reframing, to get you to think about that fear in a different way in relation to that context. So now I said, I made it very clear to her. I said, your unconscious mind is protecting you, but it's also, highlighting to you that it wants you to do certain things. It wants you to learn certain things to, so if you're scared of cancer, it's because you have the resources in you to avoid that cancer, So, and then she thought, reframe, so she said, but what can I do to, and I said, what's your diet? And I gave her a bunch of certain things and, research people who have used natural methods to avoid or cure themselves from cancer, fill your map with different things, because the fear response is also based on, our experiences, the experiences we've had, So she went away, she did some research and came back to me and was like, actually it was so good. She hasn't had to book a session in a while because that was a major thing.
That's good.
Yeah. So, yeah, it is good.
Yeah, that's good.
So, and she realized that her fear was her body's way of telling her to learn new ways of protecting herself and taking care of herself so that she wouldn't go in that particular route. So that it was also telling her that the trajectory of where she was heading based on what she was doing was taking her in that direction. So the minute she was able to understand this and change her behaviors and her states, then her trajectory changed. You know? And you could see it. Next time I spoke to her, her whole physiology was different. Her tonality was different. She was, full of energy. She wasn't really harboring the fear. So I asked her, I said, but do you still get scared every now and again? She said, yeah, sometimes it comes around when she thinks about the doctor, but now her response is completely different. So her response to the fear isn't one of crippling, oh my God, what am I going to do, Her response now was, why am I feeling this? So she was able to acknowledge it, Another technique I usually use is communicating with the unconscious mind, because sometimes the reframe isn't enough. I'm able to then get them to, communicate with their unconscious mind and find out what the intention for the fear is, and then have, the unconscious mind. And this is a very new code NLP approach to things, and then assist them in finding out, assist their unconscious in finding very many different ways of fulfilling the higher intention for that state or behavior that is fear.
Yeah, that's pretty much, again, I do pretty much the same as what you do. As I said, we've spoken about this loads. Yeah. The thing with fear, it's not that, because the way it's framed, especially in the NHS, is that if you have fear, this is how you get rid of it. And I don't really want to because it's labeled as fear, but it's serving a purpose, a higher intention. It's doing you a favor. It's pointing things out for you. So I use fear. I actually use fear in a very different way now. So obviously we've got avoiding pain, seeking pleasure. So how to deal with fear is, if you're trying to go away from something, if you're trying to move away from something, you need to be going towards something really good. And most people do not design this. They avoid one thing and they go, I want to get away from here. Yeah. And then they go to somewhere else, which is usually just as bad and stupid and idiotic as what that was. Then they go, when they get here, then they want to move away from there, and then they go somewhere else. And then they go, I don't like here either. And then what happens is the brain then, this is how people develop anxiety or generalized anxiety or generalized fear. Then what the brain does is it those three things there, so maybe it's men, maybe it's a relationship. Men are bad because it's trying to work out what things are similar in these situations. And this is when avoidance behaviors start. So how you deal with that is if you want to move away from something, you want to design and go towards something, which is what we'll probably talk about in the next podcast. Because when it comes to life purpose, goal setting, and being very strategic about what direction that you're headed in life, where are you going? If you're coming from here, what is it specifically do you want instead of that? And most people are not in position to do that. This is called leverage. So yes, it's painful here. So you're fearing there. If you want to go, but you want to go somewhere else, you can go here, design it differently. Like you said, just restructure it around, reframe it. If it's something such as a phobic reaction, obviously we'll use a fast phobia cure. If it's something that you just consciously can't work out, then like you said, this is where you use the unconscious techniques. So the end-step reframe or the Nuco games, which is pretty much what I use all the time, because that puts you in a high performance state, which then overrides everything and allows you to be in a good state to make the decisions and multiple new behaviors at the same time at the choice of the unconscious mind. The unconscious mind needs to be involved in every single step of decision making here if you're still having a problem with it, because as you said, some people are still going to struggle even if some things are explained to them consciously. But so if there's a major issue with fear, then you want to be using the other techniques as well, which will help you. If it was something like fear of getting on a plane, or a fear of I had someone who had a fear of going up a ladder for work, and he had to be up a ladder for work. See, that's a problem. That's a big problem, that is. So something like that, then you'd use a fast phobia model, which we've used quite a few times. Or timeline techniques, I've used that. But the unconscious mind there would need to be involved in that process, because the unconscious mind is doing it for a reason. It's doing it. It's learned. Maybe something traumatic's happened, and therefore you just need to release that information and let the unconscious mind learn what it needs to learn to let go of the emotion and have resources instead of the fear. So that's essentially how you.
One thing actually is. Okay. One thing I like to add is one of the techniques I really like using, especially if the client is like the ladder scenario, is I like to collapse the fear. There's a Nuco technique called the breath of life, and I like to use the breath of life because it's like a scrubber, So it takes that context and kind of scrubs all those compilation of states that they've learned and put together, and we just kind of scrub it. Well, you can't leave it scrubbed because then it's just empty, and you want to then put some other states that are conducive for it. So so we kind of design their mindset for the context itself. You know, so sometimes I find myself combining two techniques like the breath of life, which will scrub it, and then sometimes sanctuary, which kind of just puts you in a state where you can choose. So you're in a neutral state where nothing from the outside is affecting you, and then you can choose what state you want to go into from there. So I find those ones very helpful as well.
I love that for the I learned how to train trainers. The editing, because you kept saying about editing. And they made it, and then Carmen goes with my homework. Eldine, you're going to do some editing with one of their trainers. Go back and learn how to do it. So that's, as I said, that's a good way. So you can choose your state. That's, as I said, that's a brilliant way to do it as well. So now it's about the anxiety part. So someone said, like, this is a big thing in obviously the UK and the Western world at the minute, is anxiety. So someone's come up with a question like, what causes anxiety and how do I overcome it? And it's pretty much the same as what we've just said. It's caused by an overgeneralization, deletion of information, and distortion of information, false expectations appearing real, and you avoiding scenarios, then avoiding another one, then avoiding another one, and then your brain makes patterns of what you're avoiding. And if there's things in common with all of them, your brain's going to go, right, I need to stay away from that, I need to stay away from this, I need to stay away from that, I need to stay away from that. And this just, as I said, the way that I would deal with that is maybe a timeline technique for that one, because there's multiple things going off at one event, the first event, which has then gone on to other things. So that's a way to deal with it. What would you say, James? What would you do if with anxiety?
I love timeline. We love timeline. It's just one of those things that it deals with things like anxiety and depression and traumas of all sorts. But I also find that because anxiety is usually people projecting fears into future events. Thinking about something that's a situation that's supposed to be coming up, and them projecting some kind of false scenario into it, an imagined scenario that's not necessarily true. So what I usually do is, first of all, I like to collapse those anchors and find out, just stop the process itself. And then, like we said with most of the other stuff, is then I will design stuff, states for the scenario. So I like to get people into the state. Okay, right. You're thinking about something in the future, right? And you're getting this particular response every time you feel that. Back to my example of my client with her doctor. So she thinks about her doctor and seeing her doctor in the future, and then gets this fear response. So she was creating stuff that hadn't even happened. You don't know what the doctor's going to tell you, but you're assuming that the doctor's going to say this or he could say that. So what I will usually do is, first of all, reframe it, find out what the response is, and why that response is coming up. There's an intention for that response, and so it does fall down to the same things. Now, if it's something that, depending on, because usually we'll go through this process of finding out, certain questions that we'll go through the meta model questions and stuff to find out the source of these. And that's just to give us a clearer example to know and to help the client realize that, they're distorting and generalizing and deleting information that, isn't really there and, or should be there. Or ignoring something, or just the natural process that we go through. And I would just I would use that as a platform for that future event. And once I can find that, then I use the same old techniques I just mentioned now. And sometimes I like to
wide array of things that we can. Well, there's so
I do like the timeline.
We have so many different ways of dealing with this. It's just like, that's what I used to do. I had 5 years of like 7 clients a day. And I was like, me and my colleague were just going like, what should we try today? So we were trying, like, for example, ocean blowouts on phobias was like, then doing it in each other and all sorts of stuff. Well, I'd like to say, let me just say this, because Tony Robbins sometimes says 80% psychology, 20% of mechanics. So we can tell you the stuff that we'd use. But the problem that people have a lot of the time is that because they're not in a state of certainty that this is going. One, they're going to do this, and 2, this is going to work. And so, before you even do anything, at all, anything about to do with anything, depression, anxiety, anything at all, you have to be in a state where you believe that you can change, and you believe that you must change today. Not I should change. I'm going to try. I might do it. We'll see what happens. I ought to do it, shouldn't I? Yeah. If you're in that type of frame of mind, nothing's going to help you. You have to be saying, right, that's it. I've had enough. I don't care now. I am doing this. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to find something. I'm going to have a little look. I'm going to spend 8 weeks looking at things to see and building my beliefs around things, researching things if I need to. But then I'm going to make a decision because I've made a decision now. But then after that, I'm going to pick something and then I'm going to stick to it and I'm going to do it. Yeah, that's the state that you have to be in to do any sort of type of change work at all. And usually, if people come to me, I will make it very difficult on purpose. If they see me, it's like, there's a waiting list. Yeah, like, it costs a bit of money, and they go, I don't care, man. That's when you know someone really wants to do something. Yeah, that's when you know.
Burning desire is there.
Yeah, you have to have a burning desire. Yeah, and then you have to have faith in the thing that you're going to do is actually going to work. Yeah, you have to have those things in place for you to then go and do something. Because there's so much information out there, people just go, well, I'll try this, I'll try that. Yeah, see, well, that didn't really work. Well, that doesn't sound too good. No, make a decision, do your research, and then go for it. You have to. That's the problem that many people have. They just don't. They right at the start, before they do anything, the psychology of, like, for example, me. I never thought I'd be an NLP trainer. Yeah, never thought I'd be an NLP trainer. Just said no. Well, it would be good, but no, I can't do it. I just don't believe I can. But then there was a point where I went, right. In fact, no. I'm setting a plan for 5 years down the line where this is going to happen. This is what I have to do it. And usually when you make plans, this is why the next session is going to be on goal setting and life purpose. When you set a plan, that usually gets rid of all the limiting beliefs that stops you. That will take away, and it's
on the goal. You have your eye. Yeah.
Once you have your eye on things, once you've built emotional juice to the thing that you want to do, that's big, not with your current resources. So you get a goal that's above your current resources. So you have to actually grow to get it. Then you're going to find things changing. You're going to find fear naturally goes as well. So that's how you take away the anxiety as well. When you have things that you want to go for, then other things become less important because you've now given your unconscious mind something to go and focus on and work behind the scenes. Yeah, and then that's when the law of attraction comes in.
Yeah. No, actually, the key word being
focus. Where focus goes, energy flows. So something to focus.
Yes, anyone that knows me knows that that's one of my key sayings. Where attention goes, we get more of what we focus on. Because one of the things that I like that John, especially with the new code NLP techniques that John likes to do, other than tasking the person to get them committed, because just like you, John likes them to put in some work, put in some work, towards what it is that you want. But I find that intention and attention are key. So once you set your intention, what's your intention? In what's it called? The symbolic modeling.
Oh yeah.
One of the things I really like about that is that the first question they ask you is, what do you intend to happen? What would you have happen? And I love that question because then it gets them thinking about what they want, what they want to achieve, as opposed to where they are and problems that they're focusing on. So now once we have an intention, a clear intention, then I work on making sure that their attention is then, like you said, in becoming an NLP trainer, then you set yourself a goal. Your attention was now focused on the steps that we're going to take you there. So your daily attention was on that instead of being on the oh my gosh, am I going to be able to stand in front of a crowd? Then your attention is at the wrong place. It's facing the wrong direction. It should be where you want to go. So I really for me, that's one of the things I love the most about new code and having simplified things, because now in new code John just does intention and attention, behavior and consequence, and once you have those things aligned, then you know that, okay, this is what I intend to have happen, this is what I'm focusing on, and as long as I'm focusing on these behaviors, will have this consequence, but if I'm focusing on this, these behaviors will have that consequence, and it makes it's a really easy model to focus on. And it brings in what you were talking about as well. It helps you focus on the leverage points.
Yes.
For change.
Yeah. It has to be, as I said, it has to be. I mean, I spent we'll go on to it in the next session, but I spent a year writing all these goals I had, because I had to write them a specific way, and this is designed by millionaires. So this is what millionaires do. So you'll get that in the next session after this. But that's extremely important, because after that, forget the anxiety. You're now focused on what you want, and you've got so many different things that you're focusing on. You ain't got time for fear and anxiety anymore. Forget that. That's just gone. I'm focusing on this stuff, and then daily tasks to go towards the thing. And then when you start getting results from that, then all the other stuff is you can make easy decision making along with that.
Yeah, because then you're aligned.
Exactly, because you've worked it all out. It's so good to design your life like that, because as I said, if you're coming away from something and you're not going towards anything, then you're in a position where you're stuck. You're in the you just where are you? You're stuck. You're not going anywhere else. The only thing you can do is relapse. So that's the only thing. That's the only option you have. Well, it's the only decision there is. It's a default position you're in is you're going to relapse. You're going to get away a little bit and then relapse, because what other option? If you don't have something to go towards designed, then you're going to feel anxiety. I would. Everyone would, and and most people do. So that's that. So another question that someone asked was, I have a fear around authority figures. So what can I do? I've heard this before. Authority figures. This is another anchor, isn't it?
Yeah,
so
it is another anchor. But for me, it's just another context. So it still comes down to the same thing. It's just another situation where that you've learnt fear or anxiety, and you've now taken that state of being and put it into that situation. So now, and as we know, once you've taken that state and, put it into that context, what I would do is scrub the context, and then, refocus you onto what you want, and, and then put the states that you think will be more conducive, or even better still, allow your unconscious mind to now choose states that will be conducive for the intention you have around authority figures.
Yeah, it's exactly the same as to fear. Yeah, like you said, it's just another context. It's just another situation. You're going to do the same stuff as what you did before, as we've already spoken about. It's not really anything different. It's just where you've again, back to someone, maybe an authority figure, treated you bad, and then you moved away from that job. You come away from that job, and then all of a sudden you went, but you didn't design where you were going. So then you went into another job where another manager may have treated you like that, and then you move away from that job, and then another manager would treat you like that, and then now your unconscious mind, to protect you, because you're hardwired. Your unconscious mind is hardwired to avoid pain and seek pleasure. So your unconscious mind goes, right, authority figures, I'm staying away from them. I don't want anything to do with them. You're just keeping you away from them. You're just not staying anywhere near them anymore. That's what your unconscious mind, to protect you. It's a positive intention. It's trying to help you out.
Exactly.
It's trying to do you a favor by getting you out of those situations, because they're causing you pain, or the way that you've perceived it is causing you pain. Because the way that you're looking at it, maybe the state that you're in has caused you, your brain, to come up with that overgeneralization of all authority figures are bad, or whatever you feel about them, or you fear them. So it's the same scenario, but like you said, a different context. You'll deal with it the same ways as we've just discussed, and it's so that is, it's the same thing, isn't it, really?
Yeah, because I love it when John said in Training, he said, it comes down to states.
Yeah.
Because he has this chain of excellence, which talks about the leverage points, which we use to the leverage points. We keep coming back to that word leverage, but the leverage points in which we use to create change. And he starts with, breathe in, because in every state you're in. So once a person is in that situation of with authority figures, if they're sensitive enough to pay attention to which most people aren't until they've trained themselves to a certain degree. But if you're sensitive enough to pay attention to your breathing, it'll be completely different from any other state that you're in. So will your physiology. Your whole body. So it's breathing, physiology, state, and then behavior. So then your physiology too will be probably, tense and, all shriveled up in one way or the other, and then, obviously, and that is as a result of, the states that you're in, that fear. And then your behaviors tend to follow suit. The behavior that you exhibit will follow the state of mind that you're feeling. So when John said everything comes down to state, then that's just a state that is in a context, and it's a state that isn't, because I tend not to name any state as useless or unuseful, because I find that states they're all useful. It's just the context. It's just useful in that context, and it's not useful in that context for the intention that you have in that context. So I would probably just, clean the state, replace it with other states, and then the behavior itself will completely change, and the intention that they have will be fulfilled, and then back to alignment. We'll talk about this a lot in this goal setting, because alignment, it's all the same thing, because those questions those people have asked us are goals they have, or they have problems with authority figures, but, and we'll talk about them not being positively stated. But then, my question to them will be, how would you like to feel? How would you rather feel, around authority figures? Or what would you think happen?
Yeah, I was on the life coaching course, coaching academy, and I had someone who actually said this. They're working in a business, and they said to me, one of their issues that they were dealing with, or presenting issues, was that they struggled with their boss. They said their boss doesn't like them, or doesn't like, and they're scared of them. And I think, what did I say to him? I said, so I was asking them how you know this and all that typical thing. But then I think I reframed it around. It's like, well, if you're going in with that state, how do you go in to speak to them? And they said, I'm scared. And then I said, well, how do you think your boss perceives you going in with that body language? So that, because I made them look at the mirror of their body language. How would you respond to that? And then she totally just went. She went, oh. And I said, And I said, what happened? What would happen if you brought your boss in a cup of tea? And I said, how's it going? You're right, or something like that. And with a completely changed physiology, would they respond differently to how that physiology is? Because people will perceive, or as is it, perception is projection.
Yes.
So therefore, what you see, if you're seeing that in your boss, then that means that's you. That's you in the state. So you're just projecting what you think that they are, rather than what they are, like you said. So false expectations appearing real. You're just overgeneralizing, distorting, and deleting information based upon what's going on in your inner world. So that's the issue.
I love that you brought that up, because another way I'll put that is congruent communication. Is your communication, and communication, as we know, is predominantly non-verbal. So it's the vibes you're giving off with your physiology, and people pick that up. They pick that up. So if you walk into a room fearful, they will respond to you and treat you as the fearful little cat that you're being like.
Yes.
If you walk in confident and relaxed, then they'll treat you like, wow, you're confident, you're relaxed.
Or congruent. So congruence is the thing to work on, because when you're congruent, then people will perceive it as confidence, and then they will treat you just because you're congruent in what you want to do, which then makes you more confident in what you do. When people say to me, yeah, but you're quite confident, I go, no, I'm congruent because I know where I'm headed and what I'm doing, and I can make decisions quickly now because I know where I'm going, what I'm doing, and I know in fine detail if what decision you're giving me is going to help me achieve my goals quicker or delay me in getting to it. So I know straight away, if you say something to me or offer me something, I know if it's an opportunity or if it's not, based upon my own direction I'm heading in already. And that's the thing where if you know that, it's amazing the transformation that you'll have, because as I said, with the anxiety and the fear part, it tends to go away. And if there's something that especially help with the anxiety will go away with that, because then you're focused on what you want rather than what you don't want. It's not rather than the avoidance behavior, avoiding pain, because like your brain doesn't process negation. So when you avoid things, it doesn't matter because you still have to think about it. You're still thinking about it even if you're trying to avoid it. But if you change your brain, move it around, go over there and focus this way, then you're too busy to be with the anxiety and the fears and all that anger stuff. You're just too busy like living your life and like getting results and building your emotional use. So that's what we need to focus on, which obviously is going to lead us up to the next week's big part, isn't it? But there is one more question we have, and it is about how do I identify my fears. So, which is pretty much what we've just been saying as well, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a technique I've been playing with recently, which it's called the feeling exercise. Now, and then what I've been doing most of the day is every now and again I check how I'm feeling, but then I don't judge it. I don't. So whether I'm feeling fear, I'm feeling all those so-called states of mind that will say, "Oh no, you shouldn't feel this, you shouldn't feel that." There's no shouldn'ts, or they're states, and they are useful in certain contexts. So now, when I feel something, I go in and I pay attention to. For anyone who's familiar with NLP, will understand what I mean by the submodalities of the feeling itself. So I find out where the location is, how it feels, what's it, if there's any movement, whatever, and then I feel the power of the state. Then I accept the state. I appreciate the state because it's there for, it has an intention. There's an intention for that state, whether I'm aware of it or not. So what I also and this has helped me sensitize myself to becoming aware of the states I'm feeling. So becoming aware of of fear, first thing I would do is call up those scenarios that make you feel afraid. Become aware of that sensation of fear, that person usually feels, and recognize it. And also keep in mind that there's an intention for that fear. That kind of helps you stay congruent to the actions that you're taking. And then once you recognize that, yes, okay, this is what fear feels like, this is this is me feeling fear in this context, then that's the first, for me, that's the first step towards then, before, because as NLP practitioners, master practitioners, and sometimes trainers, we tend to get lost in getting rid of the state. Get rid of the state. I don't want.
They're all useful in context. I mean, just for an example, like I have a fear, and I want this fear of not having a brilliant life. So I want that fear there. I want to know if you don't do this and this, then this is your life. You're going to grow to age 75, and then you're going to look back at life. Just think about this: growing to age 75, looking back at life and going, well, I could have done well, but, and then you start blaming someone, the government's fault, wife's fault, lecturer's fault, college's fault,
taking responsibility.
spouse's fault, family's fault, my employer's fault, my colleague, and you're just listing off people. The fact of the matter is, you're not gonna have lived the best life that you could have. Enjoy life now. You survived flipping 80 million sperms to get here. You were born a winner. So just make sure that you're enjoying the time that you're here. Just enjoy. That should be a fear. Should be not making the most of life and doing all the things that you can do. And this is what, like as I said, next week is going to be on the goal setting, and this is why you need to set or more experiences that you want to have in life. Forget about the cost and everything for now, but you want to have written down a list. I mean, maybe you can do this for next time, whoever's following this and wants to get more out of this. Write down a list of all the things, experiences that you would like to have in life, because you need that to actually enjoy the life, and that's something for you to then focus on. The question was how do I identify my fears? Again, it's going to be excuses. It's going to be blaming or pushing. Someone else's fault, this person's fault, avoiding things, procrastination, or setting impotent goals. Those are the things that people are going to do when they have fear around it. Especially, I can't go to the gym because I haven't got time. Bollocks. You ain't got time. Richard Branson's got time. You've got time. You got to be right. You say you're busier than Elon Musk. You tell me you're busier than Elon Musk. Yeah, or Jeff Bezos. You're busier than them. They have time to go gym. So so those are the things you got to watch out for, is the excuses and things. If people sometimes people just don't want to do things, which is fair enough. So if you don't want to do something, just say I don't want to do it. But if you say I want to do it, but like I can't because of this, that, and the other, then there's some sort of fear going off there, which is fine. So it's
also utilizable, because you can also, like you said, like you kept saying, we're either driven away from things or towards things, away from pain and towards pleasure. So if you use that fear as something that you're being, like my client, the lady I keep using as an example, she was scared of finding out that she might have cancer. So we utilized that fear as a motivator away from, and then we put her towards, how would you rather feel? Confident that you're not going to be, confident that you can go to the doctor and expect to be told, oh yeah, well, you're doing fantastic, So we combined both of them. So like I said, there are no bad states, You can utilize that fear and use it as a motivation away from what you don't want, and towards, and then focus on the pleasures that you do want.
That's exactly that is exactly how you leverage someone to take action. What you just said there. You sometimes, when a client comes to me and says like they're thinking about change, sometimes I go, you know what? If they say to me I'm thinking about change, or they're almost on the cusp of change, then I will turn up the fear. I will turn up the pain. I will do that purposely to get them to take action. But then obviously from there, so turn it up. So just think about your life. Just think in 5 years if you keep doing this. Yeah, just think in 10 years you're going to do that. And then anchoring them for so I start turning up. Just think how much time you've missed seeing your family properly. Just think how much time you've wasted on that. Just think how big your body's going to be, and how the type of diseases you're going to have by that point. Just think. But if you just come back to now, if you started now, so flip it now. Yeah, you're right, man. yeah. Double the feeling. Double it again. Okay, it's really, isn't it? Because I'm telling you the best case scenario. And then they were like, flip, right, okay, yeah. But it could be, so you could have that, or this. And then it's all these lists of goals and things and everything, which is how you need to get people to take action. And this is where we was talking about the psychology, 80%, or like I say, the mindset 80%, and then the mechanics is 20%. So you have to get people into the position where they believe they can change and must change today.
Yeah.
I've had enough, James. Okay. I don't care what I have to do. Just put everything down there. I want to do it now. That's the state that you have to be in to be getting all of this done. So but yeah, that's how you have to leverage it. That's how people take action. So any other last words? Because that's all the questions we have for this time. I think that obviously we're going to put on next week. Next month we're going to put on goal setting or life purpose goal setting. We're going to put that on next time, because I think that's probably the most important thing, and it eradicates a load of the issues that people have. No one really sets goals. Only a fraction of the population, maybe about 5% of the population, set goals properly and set them in a way. That's why 5% of the population have about 80% of the wealth.
Well, it's true.
So they have it, and some of the stuff that I see companies do for goal setting, I can't believe that company exists.
I know.
A smart goal setting, forget that bollocks. No.
I know, and people still use that stuff, but I'm here to just show people better ways of doing stuff. Let's leave the old stuff. I won't focus too much on the old, because sometimes the best thing about these old ways is they were stepping stones to the fantastic ways that we know of now. So smart goals we've realized aren't as effective.
I remember
they were stepping stones.
Yeah. I remember I was in an interview once, and like one of the guy asked me, he goes, "What would you do if a client set an unrealistic goal?" And I was like, "Well, what do you mean an unrealistic? How do I determine if it's unrealistic or realistic to that client?" And he said, "Huh?" I said, "How do I know if that client can achieve what they're setting?" So he said, like, all I would do if a client set, for example, I want to lose 2 stone by next week, and I go, well, to do that, you'd have to do this, and this. Are you willing to do that? No. I'm willing to not eat for a week. Well, then, so that means, would you like to adjust your goal to do this, and this? But, I'll just, oh, God, that was hilarious. But
it's great, because what you did was help them find the balance between what they want and what it will cost.
Yeah.
So are you willing to pay the price to achieve what it is that you want?
Exactly.
And if you're not, how much are you willing to pay? And will it get you? And this is what what you're willing to pay will get you.
Yeah.
So they can find they can juggle it and find the balance and think, oh yeah, I can pay this much as long as it will give me this much. So yeah. It's I look forward to our next podcast, because goal setting is really
our next one's going to be like probably life change. If people implement what we do next time, they're going to change their lives.
Yes, definitely. We'll probably come with some exercises for them as well.
I think I would get people to do that. If you want to do some exercise beforehand, what I would say to you is that just write down any experiences that you would like to have in life, regardless of your abilities right now and regardless of the cost. Just things that you've always wanted to do when you was a child, or anything that you want to do like now, something but you just don't think you're good enough, or you're can afford it, or whatever. Just get that written down for next time, and then we'll explain how the unconscious mind works on things like that behind the scenes, because it's quite incredible.
Yes, it is. I'm very excited about that.
So we'll go with that. But like, hopefully, hopefully you've all, you've all got what you need from this one. But fear, as I said, getting away from fear. Fear is not necessarily bad. Fear is something that you can use to actually help you take action. You are 100 times more likely to avoid pain than seek pleasure. But like, if you use it in the right way, you can actually leverage yourself, as long as you have, which we're going to talk about the next week, is if you have the things that you want to go towards instead, or go towards, then you can use the fear to help you get there quicker, because that's going to help you take the action. But if it's something problematic like a phobia, or especially a phobia, then there are techniques and things that we can actually, but me and James have got so many things that we can do and play around with to help you with that. So thank you very much, and we'll see you next month. See you later.
Bye.